Well, if you've ever walked into a law library, you know that it can be overwhelming. Understanding the law is certainly no easy task, but that's exactly why a local attorney is demystifying the law for the average person. Meet the author of Understanding the Law, a Primer. He's Charles Ware, and he joins us today to explain the ins and outs of the American justice system. Thank you so much. The ins and outs of the American justice system, even that sounds a little challenging. How did you simplify it, and how did you get the idea for this?
Well, I got the idea over years of private practice and before that government practice, in which people simply ask the same questions over and over about the law, because it can be mystifying, and bear in mind there's so many laws.
Exactly, and they're all different depending on its federal law, state law, whatever.
That's right. There are about 2 million new laws that are made every year, and
wow.
so after a point, you know, I began to tell the clients, well, you can figure out what it is if you understand the underlying theme of the law.
All right, and some of those I guess one of the questions I had was some of these questions that keep recurring, and then I guess what are some of the themes that you kind of point out in your book?
A lot of questions come up about contracts, and of course one of the fundamental things is you need to read and understand the contract before you sign it. But there are a lot of contracts. For example, a lot of people believe that a shake of the hand in any contract is good. That's not true. I mean, there are some contracts that have to be in writing, such as a contract that's where the completion takes over a year, contract for certain values, say over $500, contracts in a prenuptial agreement, a contract about real estate. That's one of the areas that comes about in the contract side. On the criminal side, there are a lot of people who don't know how to interact with the police at the point of contact.
Right. What are your rights?
That's right. Well, I mean, you have a right to be informed of what the charges are against you. I encourage people, do not resist the arrest. Save that battle for later in court. And of course, you have a right to remain silent. I mean, to not incriminate yourself. And if you are going to talk, I recommend don't talk without a lawyer. Well,
knowledge really is power this day and age. And why do you advise people, I guess, to get this book and educate themselves on all of this, even though it can be a little daunting, I'm sure, to pick up?
That's right. Well, one of the reasons is that, you know, everything is so expensive, and people don't have as much money. And there are many things in the law that if people get this book and read it, that they will begin to understand
the premise,
the premise of what the law is about. And if you really get a sense of understanding of the law, then you can figure out what you should do and what you should not do.
Is there a big mistake that people typically make, or a misconception that you see? You said people have a lot of questions, but is there one kind of trap that people fall into when it comes to maybe if it be arrest, or like not knowing their rights, or any other arena? I don't know.
I think one of the mistakes that people make on the criminal side is that they talk too much.
Sure.
And on the civil side, I think one of the big mistakes is that people believe that although there are a lot of laws, people have sort of a TV view or a movie view of how the law really operates, and they don't have a less than glamorous sense of how things go.
It's realistic. A lot of paperwork, lots of little...
It's very, a lot of law is very boring. It's not that exciting, but you have to pay attention to the details. And that's your point. That's an excellent point. People don't pay attention to the details of their individual legal contacts.
Well, and I think it's interesting, even when it comes, for instance, with credit card companies or something, read the fine print is how they say, and they make it so difficult to do, but you're saying it's worth the extra labor and the patience just to find out for sure what it's saying.
I have a phrase that the bold print giveth and the fine print taketh away. The fine print is even more important, because invariably that fine print is taking some rights away from you that you thought you had in the bold print. So absolutely, you should take the time to read the fine print.
Well, a lot of times, I mean, I don't know about you, but I get confused just because the way that it's written. I mean, it'll be a run-on sentence and all these terms I don't understand. Do you kind of try to simplify some of that legalese language in your book too? I do. I try to help people understand where to look in the document, in the legal document, to look for the key points. Okay. And for example, you know, it's like reading a book. You go to the beginning and see what they're giving away. Then you go to the very end to kind of see what the jurisdiction and so forth. And then you can work back to the middle of the document. It's like reading a book, actually, or a novel. But so it can be interesting if you just kind of learn to think creatively with it?
Absolutely. It can be interesting. You have to have an approach, and you have to approach it methodically.
Are there certain red flag words or something that could show up in a contract? Or arbitration, for instance, or things like that that kind of be like, ooh, what is arbitration, and which state is this arbitration in, or something like that?
Arbitration is a big one. I don't like arbitration, and I say it in the book. It's the one area in terms of resolving disputes that I'm not in favor of, because arbitration usually favors the more well-heeled person. Or
precisely. You know, it's kind of taking away your rights.
That's exactly right, because, you know, people don't realize that arbitration is a private matter, and somebody's being hired to be the judge.
And it's subjective.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's just one that I, have heard about over the years.
That's a good one. That's a very good one.
And I like to play lawyer, even though a lot of times I'm not.
That's an excellent one. I have a problem with the arbitration.
Right.
And that whole process. That's true.
Any other red flag words that you might just want to take a second?
Harmless. Hold harmless. When you see that word, hold harmless, those words have a pause, because that means that there's something that could happen and you won't have any rights against the other side.
Oh, goodness.
So hold harmless are 2 words that I strongly recommend that you pause on.
And with the book, what do you think people will enjoy it? I mean, it's definitely educational, but what do you think they're going to enjoy about it?
The book is enjoyable because I have a lot of humor in here to keep it from being so boring.
Great.
And I have a lot of stories and a lot of humorous stories about the law. And I make it realistic. It's not a pie in the sky, ivory tower thing. I really want the book to be interesting because I want people to pay attention to it and to follow it.
All right. Well, again, the name of the book is Understanding the Law, a Primer. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.